Hello, you are listening to Dr. Sushma Singh. Today in Unit 1 Development and Progress, Economic and Social Dimensions, we are going to start topic Development as Growth, Change and Modernization. Though there are perceptive disagreements, development has also been understood widely in terms of increase in productivity, increase in the intensity of modernization, urbanization, and industrialization. Here, development has been viewed as the processes of the quantum increase of the goods and services, as transformation of society from pre-modern to modern in terms of institutional arrangements, as transformation of economy from agrarian to industrial, as migration of population from rural to urban areas, as shifting of economic activities from agricultural to non-agricultural, and so on. In this section, we shall discuss the different connotations of development as in general perceived in the post-World War II period. We shall also discuss the impact of these notions of development on society very briefly. The first is development as multiple connotations. There are several connotations about development, such as development as growth, development as change or transformation, and development as modernization. The first is growth. In economic terms, development as growth refers to an increased capacity to produce consumption goods and a concomitant increase in consumption patterns. As growth, development very simply may be defined with respect to an increased ability to fulfill basic human needs of food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, and education. In a third sense of growth, development has also been defined in terms of expansion of possibilities and increase in individual choices, capabilities, and functioning. Development in the above senses carries with its connotations of being positive, progressive, and natural, beneficial, and inevitable. The second point is change and transformation. Development as a change and transformation refers to the economic, social, political, and cultural processes of change in human societies. And the third one is modernization. The development is also understood as the modernization, though some may disagree about them being one and the same thing. Often, modernization being seen as a means of development. In the economic realm, it is referred to the processes of industrialization, urbanization, and technological transformation of agriculture. In the political realm, it requires a rationalization of authority in general and a rationalizing bureaucracy in particular. In the social realm, it is marked by the weakening of ascriptive ties and primacy of personal achievement in advancement. And in the cultural realm, it is the growth of science and secularization, along with an expansion of the literate population that makes for what has been referred to as a disenchantment of the world Development in this sense of modernity stands for what is understood as westernization, where the West stands as the model for the progress of the rest of the world. Development in this sense becomes a comparative adjective which is based on the Western centric assumption that there is a process of linear evolution of the world in which the West leads world history and evolution, and that other nations must follow in their footsteps towards a homogeneous world. The term development has acquired a special meaning since the end of World War II, when an era of development was launched by the American President Henry S. Truman, who publicly expressed the need to embark on a bold new program for making the benefits of scientific advances and industrial progress of his country available for the improvement and growth of the underdeveloped areas. Discounting old imperialism and exploitation for foreign profits, he announced a program of development based on concepts of democratic fair dealing. Development by this declaration came to connote as an escape from the undignified condition called underdevelopment. The next point is development and its impacts. As development was predominantly defined in terms of increase in productivity, economic prosperity, and an expansion of the market economy, underdevelopment had been constructed as a phenomena of poverty, low productivity, and backwardness. There was optimism that economic growth was the fastest road to development. From the 1950s onward, therefore, there has been an obsessive focus on the industrialization and growth of GNP, and it has been assumed that the natural consequence of a rapid growth in these will bring about positive changes in existing social conditions. However, there were several adverse consequences due to this. As the development has meant industrial growth, profit and resources were diverted to feed industry at times, ignoring the basic subsistence need of society. It obviously led to the expansion of the market at the cost of the livelihood of many. While it has generated utilities of consumption and luxury, it has also resulted in higher levels of pollution and erosion of natural resources that threatened mankind's very existence. The growth oriented development was accompanied by an increase in inequalities and social disintegration. There was evidence everywhere to show how development itself either left behind or even created a new large area of poverty and stagnation, making for marginalization and exclusion of sections of population from the fruits of social and economic progress. Gunder Frank, who perceived the injustices of the existing development processes, coined the phrase development of underdevelopment. For he held that the process of development that is underway makes some people and regions developed while others are underdeveloped as a result of this global dynamics of the world system. Economic growth has manifested itself in terms of an nationalization of the economies of developing nations, a boom in the financial capital at the disposal of the nations, and increased mechanization impacting processes and patterns of production and consumption. It has also meant increased concentration of wealth, wide disparities in distribution of wealth, the withdrawal of the welfare states, and an increasing role of the military in the political and economic life of country. Thus, economic growth and economies of concentration cannot be a generator of development in the widest sense of the word. The economic model is mechanized, and its assumption of economic rationality is not suited to poor third world nations. A liberalized market, for instance, means an exclusion of the vast masses of the poor people from economy, and that cannot be a way of removing poverty, the greatest developmental issue for the third world. Increased income level, multiplied exports, and raised economic growth of a few regions cannot take away from the urgency of the problems of increasing poverty of the masses, depleting resources, unemployment, underemployment, inadequate housing, and mounting foreign debts that threatens national sovereignty, besides entailing a chain of reactions that can deplete national resources and capabilities to irreversible limits. If this economic development causes anxiety, alienation, fragmentation, cynicism, and demobilization, it would itself abort what it seeks to do, that is, progress of humanity. Yet we need development to address the powerlessness that people feel due to illiteracy, unemployment, lack of productive assets, and lack of knowledge. We cannot deny the need to change the fact of substandard existence and poverty that dogs the vast masses of humanity. We must also work toward expanding possibilities for people to fulfill themselves, yet we must be cautious of the binary, the mechanist, the reductionist, the inhuman, and ultimate self destructive approach to change that development has meant gives given its political anarchy. From the above discussion, we can conclude that the balance sheet of the development may not be very optimistic, yet it still carries the only possibility of ameliorating long standing human problems of poverty and backwardness. Now, let us learn the different models of the economic development in the next lecture. Thanks for listening.